Hi, I'm Rick Harsh, and today I'm going to be listing the top 25 United States of America novels. How's that, huh? A little bit of a prop. Okay, now I saw one of these top 25 novels, and I thought, why don't I do one of those? And then, my list is helping prop this up. Let me see if we can do this without screwing up the whole video. We sit down there. You can skip this ad in 3 days, and I'd advise you to wait an extra day because there's a lot more to think about. I would like to go in chronological order, but I didn't do my research, and so I can't really be sure that this is in chronological order. I'm no expert on chronologicals. But now the one I saw started with Edgar Allan Poe. And I like Edgar Allan Poe. I probably would have used Cask of Amontillado. He used the Telltale Heart. It doesn't matter. We're talking about Poe, not just one piece. But I decided my number one is going to be Moby Dick. This guy, I'm not sure who he was, but I think he's Spanish. And I enjoyed a lot of things that he said. But the one thing I didn't enjoy that he said is that, Moby Dick, you can skip parts of it. He seemed to be really, really nervous about length because throughout the video he was talking about how great the shortness was, brevity, and so on. Although he did mention the recognitions, and he didn't say you could skip it or any of it. So anyway, I wasn't angry about the Moby Dick part, but the thing is, now a lot of people say that Moby Dick is the best novel ever written from the United States, and so this is not a controversial pick. And if you disagree with it, or if you feel like skipping it or skipping parts of it, just don't read it. And choose Nat Hawthorne or someone like that. But for me, number one is Moby Dick. And that goes for number one chronologically and ornithologically, cetaceanally, and in every other way. Moby Dick is the best novel ever written by anybody in the United States. But from now on, we're going to go chronological, or we're going to have a kind of, we're going to try to go chronological. Number two, chronologically or so, is, let's say, Kate Chopin, The Awakening. Now, I read this book 35 or so years ago, and the atmosphere stayed with me. I mentioned it to a friend of mine yesterday, and he said swelling bosoms, because apparently a character in the book has a bosom swell that came before it was really okay to have your bosom swell. And so that just made me want to read it again. Maybe she meant to write swell bosom. And in those days, you didn't have a computer. You had so many things that could go wrong in the transcription and so on. But that is a terrific woman by a book named Dyslexia. A woman from Louisiana named Kate Chopin, The Awakening. That is not to be missed. Let's call this 25 books that you gotta read if you're going to know U.S. literature. All right. Number three I don't. Oh, by the way, I don't have copies of most of these, or if I do, they're hard to find. Except for the one I got out last night. I could have got about 5 or 6 out, maybe 10. I don't know. But number 3, chronologically, is Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. Who can forget? Who can forget the name of the guy? What is it, Jurgis or something? I will try harder. I will work harder. I will work harder. I will work harder. Great. This is socialist realism at play, but in such a way that it's just naturalism, realism, whatever you want to call it. But he just nails the capitalist system and how it screws the worker. In this case, the Nordic immigrant Jurgis, or whatever his name was, who will work harder. You got to thank him for that. Number 4, trying to keep in a chronological order here. Let's say Their Eyes Were Watching God, Zora Neale Hurston. And if you don't agree with this pick, just go take a couple of looks at photos of her and the way she wears her hat. And if you're still in doubt, reread it with a photo of her right next to the book. This is a terrific novel, and of course, you might say, well, are you just throwing in an African American writer and a woman to get them out of the way? Maybe. I mean, who knows? I don't know my own subconscious, but I think it's a terrific book. Now we explode because we have, well, I don't know. Now let's not explode yet. William Faulkner is on anybody's list, but Light in August is the book. Light in August, okay? Don't listen to anybody else. Joe Christmas, Light in August, fantastic example of a Faulknerian Faulkner book. Unbelievably good. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now we're going to explode, okay, with Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer. Now here you have a book written in Paris by a guy who is so desperate in so many ways that on page 5 you get, at night when I look at Boris's goatee lying on the pillow, I get hysterical. Oh, Tanya, where is that cunt of yours? She's the shape of the goatee, and he's starving, and he's, but I once convinced a feminist who just really didn't like Henry Miller that was metaphorical. And he's just a man who's, intensely hungry and low, and he was literally hungry. Once in a while, Boris would come back. Boris was decent enough to go out to eat because Henry had no food or money, and come back, and not eat in front of Henry. But, when he'd come back, there'd be pieces of egg in his goatee, and Henry would look at them longingly, and, that's even more grotesque and moving than the beard as pubic hair, if you ask me. But the looking at that and that goatee and longing was the intense longing for food, for love, and for spiritual sustenance. Spiritual sustenance. So, Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer was a real breakthrough book for a United States writer, and many of our best critics and writers will hearken back to Henry Miller and kind of go, should I or shouldn't I? But yeah, it was a great book, and so was Black Spring, so was Colossus of Marusi. He did write some sluggish works, but they were all fascinating he's a great man to study. And so that's number 6. Number 7, I think we have to go with Thomas Wolfe. Look Homeward, Angel. Him and his excess. The man was an excess expert. Look Homeward, Angel, I choose because I think I chose it because I have it, but then I didn't get it out. But anything by Thomas Wolfe is great. And he is someone that doesn't. I asked a professor when I was a youngster, like 18, why isn't he in the canon? And why isn't he taught? Why isn't Henry Miller taught? And the answer I got back was, we are lame. I don't remember the words he used, but we are lame is what he was trying to say. I'm raising my voice a little bit to go over, there's a conversation on the phone elsewhere in the room, and I'm being distracted, so I'm trying to override that. So that's number 7, Thomas Wolfe. Lots of energy and terrific prose, and just like the upside of empire, if such a thing could exist, it would be the excess, U.S. excess, not excess of slaughter and so on, but just this grandiosity, and that works in prose. Thomas Wolfe's only writing about Thomas Wolfe, basically, but the prose is just so excessive, he just can't stop. And he was also a giant man, and it's very funny in one or two of his books, the people downstairs are, what this guy's tromping back and forth. He would write standing up, and he's walking back and forth, and in the morning the people are like, would you fucking stop that? Now let's move on to another African American, and since you already accused me of tokenism, I'm going to go one more. Native Son by Richard Wright would be number 8, written in 1940. I wrote that down, so just, don't argue with me about it. This is like The Jungle, only 40 years later or so, and the ghetto experience, the capitalist experience, with the racist experience overriding all. I don't know why the native son is not talked about so much anymore, but if you're going to read writing in the United States, you better read Native Son. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now I'm going to have to take just a second to find out what would be number 9, because we're taking a big leap. I'm looking for something in the... Oh, okay. Speaking of United States American traditions, there's the noir. And so Raymond Chandler has to have a spot in here. And The Long Goodbye is his best book. Now, Chandler is a flawed writer, but he's a terrific writer. What was his flaw? What is his flaw? Well, plotting. I mean, not that his plots are no good, but that he has to plot. And he's constrained by the necessities of noir. But this is also social commentary. Again, the United States experiment requires social commentary because it was a devastating experiment for humanity. And Chandler gives you a lot of the dark side of post-World War II. And that's where noir came from, post-World War II. All the GIs came back and said, God damn, we won! And we're going to get little houses and jobs and shit like that. But there was also a great deal of crime, a great deal of unemployment and poverty, and it created atmosphere that fits very well into the noir genre, created a genre. And Raymond Chandler is the best practitioner of that. Now, let's go to, do we have to jump all the way up to, oh, no. Okay, number 10 is Joseph Heller's, you got it, Something Happened. Now, the reason it's earlier, the Catch-22 was published at around 1960 or so, I think, and that could fill in a gap here, but that was a fantastic book. I've read it several times. It's hilarious, and the anti-war commentary is brilliant. But Something Happened is, in a more quiet way, in a more masterful way, this penetrates to the heart of what the society does to the successful human being, and the emptiness within that human being. And I'll leave it at that. Read Something Happened. Not enough people do. Here we got a lot of books in the 70s and 80s. So I'm going to go with, now the thing is about including all these African Americans is, they're all domestic in the United States, right? Wrong. Number 11 on my list is Vincent Carter's The Burn Book. This is a memoir, but a literary memoir. It's a terrific writer. He was the only black man in Burn from like 1953 to when he died, 80s probably. And in the meantime, he wrote this book that almost no one knows about, it seems like. It's called The Burn Book. And it is an extraordinary book about being the only, absolutely only person of your kind, a black person in a white world. And it's incredible. It's a remarkable book. And on purpose, I skipped number 12, which is Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, because I wanted it to come after The Visible Man, The Burn Book. It was written about 20 years earlier than The Burn Book. But Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man must be on this list, is on this list, and if I have to say more about that, we're all in trouble, okay? Now, I did skip another one, temporally, chronologically, and that's Naked Lunch. If there's any book that covers the gap between Henry Miller and the Beats and all of that, it's Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. You got to hand it to a guy who shoots his wife in the head and gets off. You got to really kind of double clutch, though, when you realize he shot his wife in the head. Accidentally. They were shooting things off each other's heads, and he missed. Was it some sort of William Tell cosplay? I don't know. But it was just, this is just, I'm glad that's not on my resume, and so is my wife, probably. So, number 13, Naked Lunch. And go ahead and watch the movie. I mean, what harm? But read the book, too. So now, number 13 is Naked Lunch. And we got some books clustered up together here. And I think we're going to go 14. We're going to go with James Allen McPherson's Elbow Room, which was, I think, in the 70s, as too many of these are. But because there's such a variety of books, McPherson's Elbow Room is a short story collection and needs to be on here. He was often called the next Ralph Ellison. And in the literary community, there was a big split between the Ellisons and the more radical, I guess, writers. I mean, you know, I would like to have on here maybe the autobiography of Malcolm X, but and frankly, I haven't read it. But I would like to have the one novel that isn't in here is probably out there, and I just don't know about it. But I would like to have the anti-Ellison, the radical, violent novel of the black experience in 1970. That's what's missing from this list. And please send me flowers, send me money, but also send me a name, someone I can look up that would fit in the 65 to 85 range. A raging, amazing black novel from that time that would counter the McPherson side. But McPherson was just brilliant. And I would also say, look at his essays, Crab Cakes. There's a book of essays called Crab Cakes. Good stuff. So that was McPherson. We're already up to 14. And it's only been 21 minutes. Now we're going to double up here. And Chandler Broussard is going to be 15 and 16. 15 is Raging Joy, Sublime Violations. That is a short, incredible book about Vietnam. It's the best book, in my opinion, about the Vietnam War. And it's absolutely crazy. But the thing is, although it's surreal, although it's bizarre, what is not surreal, though it's still bizarre, is that he lists, I mean, throughout the book, his characters are the people who committed the atrocities or oversaw them. You'll get names like Dean Rusk, McGeorge Bundy, people that need to never be forgotten because the Hague is soon going to have a mausoleum for all the people who escaped, and or I'll die trying. Anyway, Dean Atkinson is in there. Ike is in there. John F. Kennedy is in there. The real John F. Kennedy, the one who had leaders of foreign countries killed. And so it's just a wacky book. But if you want a book about, now I'm quoting Stephen Moore again and again whenever I talk about Wake Up, We're Almost There by Chandler Broussard. It's a big fat book. I published it. So I should have a copy somewhere, but I don't know. I must have. Maybe I finally cleaned up and put books away. But Wake Up, We're Almost There isn't just it's closest to Miller, I guess, but it's more organized. And like Miller, he was on the surface wacky, playful, surreal, etc. But underneath was a fucking genius. And he just tears at the American mythos, and that I think that's his ultimate glory. That book, Wake Up, We're Almost There. Number 17. You're all thinking, yeah, well, where is Pynchon? And you're right. Where is Pynchon? He's one of those guys you don't know where he is. So, Mason and Dixon by Thomas Pynchon. Why Mason and Dixon? Well, I haven't read it. And I know from what I've heard, from what critics have said, and so on, that is Pynchon at his best. Gravity's Rainbow is terrific. There's nothing wrong with it. Anything anybody says about it is true. But Mason and Dixon is even better. I'll find out for myself one of these days. Where is that? Mason. Okay, 18. Where's Vonnegut? He's right here. Breakfast of Champions. This is the best Vonnegut novel for all readers. Now, I mean for writers who could learn lessons, readers who want to understand more about what writers can do. Breakfast of Champions. Now, Vonnegut himself once gave himself grades for all of his books. He gave himself a C for this. I give it an A plus. Breakfast of Champions. Now we're running out of room here, so we've got to go to, I think we've got to go to Gilbert Sorrentino as number 19. Gilbert Sorrentino, a lot of books to check out there, but Mulligan Stew, definitely is one of the best. When people talk about the great writing balloon, the creative, the metafictional, whatever, they go from Gas to David Foster Wallace, whatever. And they list people. Don't forget John Barth. Don't forget who's that guy? I forget. But Sorrentino is never in there. Stanley Elkin is the one I forgot. Stanley Elkin is almost never in there either, and he probably should be on this list, but I can't put him on this list. I haven't read him. Oh, Mason and Dixon. Well, Stanley Elkin. Anything by Stanley Elkin, but Sorrentino. Start with Mulligan Stew, and that means also Ishmael Reed. That's number 20. Reed. Elkin is 21. Ishmael Reed, Mumbo Jumbo is generally the one to look at, but I don't think you can go wrong with anything with Ishmael Reed. But Mumbo Jumbo, if that doesn't do it for you, then, well, okay, take him off your list. But I'm not taking him off mine, all right? So now we're getting very close to the end. This is 25, I said? Okay, so 22 is Atomic Aztecs by Seshu Foster, which is one of those books that isn't one of those books because it's its own book. Aztecs win, and now we're in the 21st century, and or the 20th century. Actually, for a while, we're in the 20th century, and we're in Stalingrad. And when the Aztec troop or whatever, they enter the fray, you get some of the best Stalingrad writing you'll ever find. And although it's amazing and it's nonsense at the same time, you get some, terrific war writing, and as real as it gets. But then they pop up in a sausage factory in some, can't remember the name of it, but Colonel John's, or, I don't know, somebody in Senor John's in Los Angeles, and then you have hijinks there. And there's some very funny stuff in the book, but the most amazing thing to me is that Stalingrad really comes to life in this completely absurd, bizarre context. So, don't Seshu, Sessu, Foster. Okay, you're thinking, all right, now he's going to go with his favorite recent writers, his friends, himself. And no, I'm going to make this easy on you. I'm going to go with two writers who are very different. One of them is William Vollmann. I've read Europe Central by William Vollmann, which is probably his best work of fiction, because I have mixed feelings about the Seven Dreams series, because I read one that I didn't think was very inspired. It was long. It was more. It was like historical fiction. It didn't really strike me as a brilliantly written book. But he's written so much nonfiction, and I think you've got to go with the to get him on your list. You've got to put him at, let's see, 23. Complete works. Vollmann's complete works. Yeah, there might be a novel or two in there that you think, that didn't do it for me. But there is great fiction, and the nonfiction is, out of this world. What is it? Rising Up, Rising Down. What are the 7-volume, €2,000 history of violence or study of violence. Um, I went a little crazy about that because I thought, what the fuck, in writing thing and then publishing, and nobody will, can't you publish it cheap and do something for the readers? And but then I started listening to reviewers and what they're talking about and what he's talking about, and this is I'm convinced that, like many, that Volman is a monster, and there's just no way that he could have written all that he wrote, but he did, and so his complete works. But I would be amiss and remiss and dismissed if I didn't include all of the nonfiction of Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson comes in at number 24 because my chronology is fucked up. But he created a type of fiction that, Truman Capote wrote this, and Norman Mailer wrote this, and I think Hunter Thompson looked at their books and said, boring. Let's write some semi non-fictional stuff about politics, and nobody wrote better than Hunter Thompson, who is given the Gonzo medal for creating Gonzo journalism, and is just a terror. A terror. The most free writing, and maybe that's something that outside of the more social books here, the books that are really free. Now, Moby Dick is kind of both. There's some really crazy stuff in there, and then there are these compressed philosophical moments. The writing is as good as it gets, but it's also very free, and you have Tropic of Cancer, the Burn book in its way, Naked Lunch, Raging Joys, Wake Up, We're Almost There. I've got 24, and I promised 25. So what do you think I should put next? What comes to mind? Something in the recent years would be good, I think. But I'm not sure. It should be something you've never heard of. And so it is. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It'll be, I have chosen one. 21st century, and a book that encapsulates almost everything that I've been talking about here. No, it's not infinite jest, but it is a known book. It's not a secret book that was written by it's only a small press like Seshu Foster's, which, how do you get to the canon? You have to be shot from a cannon into the canon, which doesn't make any sense, but if you're small press, that's the only way to go. So, if you're interested at all, you can guess the 25th book. And if you get it right, I will buy you a copy and have it sent to you by courier. Okay, that's my 25 top novels. It's not this one. There you go. Thanks for listening, watching, and just being who you are and who I'm not. This is Rick Harsh, and this was a BookTube.